Hello, everyone, and welcome again to I Want to Teach English. I'm your host, Jose Torres. And let me tell you, I got a very special guest, someone I've had on this show before, Miss Tess Timmons. She's the curriculum specialist for Compton Unified School District in California. So I'm bringing her back on because last time we had these conversations, it went all over. It was great. It was a fantastic conversation. I'm hoping that we can get to that here as well. Before we get Tess on the show, though, I want to pause here for a second.
This video is powered by Dubby, the clean energy drink made for focus, stamina, and zero crashes. Whether you're gaming, working, or creating, Dubby helps you stay sharp without the slump. Grab your tub, mix it up, and feel the difference. Use the promo code JVTorres at checkout for 10% off at dubby.gg. That's DUBBY.gg. Stay energized, stay focused, stay in the game with Dubby.
Let me tell you, if you're a teacher who's been in it for a while, it's just as important to keep our bodies in shape as it is our minds. And being healthy doesn't necessarily only mean diet, like what we eat. It also means being more physically active. So if you are going to get out there and you're going to need a little kickstart, go to dubby.gg and use our promo code JVTorres. You won't regret it. And another thing you won't regret is taking the time here with me. And please give a very warm welcome to my good friend, Miss Tess Timmons. Miss Tess, welcome back to I Want to Teach English. How you been?
Hi, Happy New Year. It's great to see you, Jose. I've been great. I'm rooting for the Broncos and hoping we have like a Super Bowl party this year.
Wow. Wow, that's some high expectations you have there, Tess. If I didn't know any better, I'd swear you're an educator.
Yeah, I fully root for my team. There's no fantasy football. I give all my energy only to the Broncos. This placard was given to me by a former teacher that I worked with. He was a diehard Raiders fan. Look, I turned that. Like, it's kind of amazing.
Wow. Well, as you can see, I don't know if my little banner here inspired you to do that or not, but if it did, hey, I'll take credit.
Yeah, let's battle our teams. This is awesome.
Well, you're in California now, and I guess you're a Colorado girl. Like for me, I'm from Miami, so clearly I wear my colors on my sleeve. And I'm hoping that we could just jump right into this conversation. And just like your team, Denver, I'm Team Miami. Let's talk about team men. Okay, you and I have been in educators for quite a while. I'm not going to mention how many years, but you and I both know men are in short supply. Is it not? Is that not the case?
Yeah, I've taught in private, charter, public, Title I schools, and yes, I don't see men as often, especially in early childhood education, ESL, like you were mentioning. Yeah.
So why do you let's go ahead and just get right into it. Why do you think there are so few men in early childhood and ESL education? Now, before you answer, this is my first year in a long time where I'm working with small children. I'm working with third graders this year. Oh. And I love it, man. It's a fantastic thing. I didn't think I would, because I'm so used to working with the bigger kids, but I've grown to like them. They're really cool kids. I really do. And they look up like I'm like their school dad, and it warms me, really does.
Oh, that's really sweet. I didn't realize that. Yeah, when I was in high school, I would go over to an elementary school my junior and senior year, and I helped teach like a 4th, 5th grade class. And then it was year round. So when they were off track, I would help out with like special ed. And that was my time with early elementary. Since then, 7th through 12th grade students, and now I work with teachers. But when I was helping out with early elementary, I don't remember that many male teachers in the elementary school. And when I was in school in elementary in the late 80s, early 90s, I remember my 4th grade teacher, Mr. Gerhardt, and I still remember his name. I don't remember all of my teachers' names.
You remember his name?
I remember his name because he was the first male teacher that I ever had. And he was very positive masculine energy. And I really needed that. I needed someone that I could talk to about science and curiosity. And in my household, the TV was on, or there were only certain subjects, and that my male family members would really talk about. And so it was really cool for me to experience like talking to this other man about like learning. And it was just a really pure, positive exchange. So
why do you think there's so few men who are willing to go into that? Now, I'm gonna want to hear your answer, then I'm gonna give you my perspective as a man. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I think a few things. I think first of all, like early childhood education can be culturally looked at as like women's work, right? Like if we look at like machismo culture, I'm not gonna help with children, like that's for ladies to do. If we look at pay, I've seen a lot of men who talk about like wanting to be head of household. And I had a former teacher that I worked with. He left the teaching industry for a little bit because he was deciding if his wife and himself were going to have a baby or not. And he was saying, I need to be making more money if I'm going to be raising a family and having a household. He ended up coming back to education. Actually, he had left for real estate and came back to it, but ended up not having children. So I think sometimes that financial and I think, I think early childhood is looked at as like not really men's job. Like you are looking at kindergarten, changing a diaper, perhaps. Like, there's some really stuff weird going on. Yeah.
Well, I think it helps if the man has been a father. Like I've had 2 children, right? So for me, it's looking at these little kids who are, 7, 8 years old or whatever. I measured my own children, like when my daughter was that age or my son was that age. So I'm very familiar with the kind of way they act and, a lot of the little habits that kids pick up. So for me, it's just kind of like a rollover idea of being a dad, right? So in that sense, but I know a lot of men are not fathers, so they may not want to go in there. And look, I think I might have gone on Reddit or one of those social, threads and put my 2 cents in. And I remember thinking, oh man, I'm going to get eaten alive because Reddit is known for stuff like that. But it turns out it was a lot of conversation, like a lot of different ideas people were posting on there about why men don't want to become teachers. Some of it has to do with the stigma that they may be looked at as creepy or, maybe closet pedos or something like that. And I get that. I understand why people would have that. But for me, it's a cop-out. One, because if you're a father and you have children, there's no stigma of you being a creep there. So why does that carry over into school? To me, it's like a cop-out. I think it's a weak excuse that men make as so that they don't have to, actually consider that profession seriously. And that's just my opinion. And I've tried to challenge other men outside of education. It's like, well, why would you not consider it? And the answers vary, but most of the time it's just like, I don't think I'd be a very good teacher. I have a short temper or something. And at least they're honest about some of those answers, but there's got to be more guys like me out there.
I think that's beautiful that you're willing to go to 3rd grade, right? I've heard of a lot of like female teachers that I've worked with that were teaching high school. Now they're teaching kindergarten. I was teaching high school for 10 years, came down to middle school. So what have you found that from entering into 3rd grade, like how is your year gone? Like what do you enjoy about it being a male teacher, and how many other male teachers are you around?
So there are in my ESL team, there are 2 other male teachers. They're both older than I am. The older of the 2 has been, I think, only been working with kindergarten, like for as long as I've been around. So we're talking going back 20 years. So, I mean, he's primarily works with kindergarten and, like pre-K and 1st grade. I mean, they're really little. So, and he says very musical. So he has a guitar and he teaches them songs, and he's very good about getting their attention and keeping their attention, especially when it comes to like music and stuff like that. The other one is, I don't know. I guess he prefers the older students, but he's like in 2nd grade this year. So all the men are in the lower grades this year, and all the women ESL teachers are in the higher grades. Don't ask me why that is, but I can't speak for those other 2, but like I know that in my wing and with the other men that are in my wing are not teachers. Oh yeah, there's one is a teacher, and the others are like They're, what would we call them? Support,
Okay.
student support, that kind of thing. But it's usually like, I think for me, a lot changed when I took my appearance more seriously. Like I wear a tie suit to work every day, which is unusual for a teacher.
Mhm.
And especially working with little ones. So the little kids have a different perspective of me. I think they see me with a lot more authority. And I think a lot of it has to do with my appearance and the way I dress and the way I carry myself. And they're very respectful, and they respond to that. I think small children especially, will respond accordingly.
Mhm.
If you're a serious person, they will respond to you seriously. My co-teachers are fantastic women. I absolutely love them, but they hold down the fort, man. They have complete authority in that classroom. And I think for me, it's just icing on the cake for them, because
Yeah.
just having my presence in the room just changes the dynamic completely. So I think a lot of it plays into that. Now, if you have, I can't speak to the other guys. Maybe they dress differently. They carry themselves differently. But I'm not in the classroom with them, so I can't really say for sure how the kids respond to them. I can only speak to how they respond to me. So I think, men should consider that, especially when we talk about the education system as a whole, right? There's this
Yeah.
conversation. Let's not kid ourselves. There's this conversation, a national conversation about public education, especially, and how our school systems have declined. And, there's all this negative publicity about it. And men will be right in first in line to make complaints about it too. Well, they need to discipline and need this and they do that. Well, we need big burly men to come step into the schoolhouse and be that voice of authority and be that, and I think with this survey, and we're going to talk about the survey that I did, a lot of that sentiment carried in, and it was presented by mostly women, not men.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think you make a really good point of the fact that, like, when you went to teach third grade, that you were looking at the fact that, like, I'm a father and I'm good at this and I can help with that role. I think a lot of teachers are coming out of like a BA program. They're not fathers. And so I think that pedophile thing is huge, that there's this scared feeling of like, I don't want to be around little kids. Even when I went to an event here in LA, and you go and walk these lights for Christmas and whatever. And if a little kid's wandering near me or whatever, I'll say hi, but I do like kind of take space because, there's a lot of that feeling in our culture. But I think also you make a really valid point too about like carrying yourself and like dressing up, and this is a profession. I'm wearing a tie. And I think with grades like fourth grade and younger, fifth grade and younger, I see a lot of the students being very respectful. I know I don't teach those classes. I know there's always a grumpy day for a kid, but
Sure.
They do look up and they want to please the teacher, where I think that becomes drastically different in middle school, where it's like, we'll see, prove yourself to me. I'll see if I trust you. Whereas you're still with this sweetness of a child.
What do you think boys gain by having more men in the schoolhouse? And then I'll give my take.
Yeah. Well, and I definitely think that boys and girls gain. Like, first of all, like remembering my story of being in fourth grade, and I really needed like positive masculine energy. So I think that everyone gains, first of all. But I think that, in my opinion, men make men. So I think that at a certain point, I see a lot of women still coddling, and I think that boys need warrior time. I'm of the opinion in schools, like we sit way too long and we chopped off vocational programs. And I would like to see a reemergence of like project-based learning, standing movement. For instance, in South Korea, the government donated an airplane and 12-year-olds are taking it apart and rebuilding it again. That's awesome to me. And how many boys would not be in trouble because they're building and moving and not being told to sit down? And I think that there's a lot of that female, sit down, be quiet, sit down. And I think the girls naturally sit and are quieter. And so there's this kind of pitted against. But I also think like when I'm teaching, I think that men have an authoritative voice and they're listened to easier. I think a lot of male teachers are like, what do you mean classroom management? It's so much easier. I just tell them sit down and they all sit down. I think that men are listened to more. It might be because there's less of them, but I've noticed in like teaching in middle schools and high schools that the men don't really have as many classroom management issues as teachers at the beginning, right?
Right. Oh, I mean, I've seen both ends, and let me just talk a little bit about what you were saying before.
Yeah.
Because for me, I was watching this podcaster once, and I can't remember the name, so I forgot. I'm sorry, but he was having a conversation with a woman, and they were talking about this very issue that you and I are talking about. And so the man made this point, and he goes, well, if you want to learn to be a chef, you go to learn alongside a chef, right? And she's like, yeah. And I said, if you want to be a pilot, you got to, learn alongside a pilot, right? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, well, where do these boys learn to be men if they're not around men? You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's like it's not a knock on. Listen, I grew up in a single family home. My father skipped out on me when I was a kid, so I had basically my mother, but I had my older brothers. There were men in the house. It's very important for a young boy or a young man to have that around. And
Yeah.
I get that you have people from all kinds, and I'm not suggesting that different men don't have different perspectives or different beliefs or different ideologies. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just saying that boys want to learn. If they want to learn to be a man, they have to learn from the men that they're around. And if they're not around any men, well, guess what?
Yeah.
He's going to have a haphazard idea of what being a man is.
Yeah. And I think that naturally women, we want to protect and we want to support. And I think that we do coddle. We do hold on a bit too long. Yep. Like let them stand up, let them fall a little bit, let them earn it. I've seen a lot of parents nowadays, like buying everything for their kids. I don't know. I think that it's okay that they need to struggle a bit, like they don't have to have everything all at once. When I look at like recess or passing periods, or even when I was in charge of like ASB, which is like student council, we ran a lot of events like after school dances and so forth. What I was wanting was like having parents come toward the end of the dance or in the dance, more toward the end because it's middle school and they want to stay cool, but having the parents come inside and they could dance with their kids, or we had like blow up inflatables and games. So I wanted the parents to park their cars and come in and toss the football or the tossed like we had axe throwing that was not real axes, but I wanted them to come in and play. And I was getting this counter support from admin saying, hey, we have a lot of, with all the school shootings and this and that, we don't know who every parent is, and we can't just allow everyone to come in onto campus. And I'm thinking, well, we could figure that out though. We could have like fingerprinting. We could have certain bracelets. We know who the parents are. But I think that the more we separate out, the more dangerous it is. I think we need parents to come on campus. We need to see fathers and in a positive way. Not like we want fathers there that are going to yell at the kids and tell them to get to class. I want fathers there to like play and hang out. Like all the dads show up for a football game, but where are the dads to show up on a Wednesday and like come make community, that would be nice.
So let me ask you, I want to shift gears, and I'm glad you brought that piece up because this kind of plays into that. And if we want to get more fathers into the schoolhouse to just participate in the education process, what kind of cultural or systemic shifts you think would attract more men to this profession? And then I'll give you my 2 cents after.
Yeah. And I think when we look at like men teaching the older students, I think that we also, I just keep talking about this. I think we also have that scared mindset of like, oh, is he going to flirt with the girls or date the girls when we look at middle school and high school as well? So I think that there needs to be a cultural shift of men not being looked at as like scary or pervy. And I think also that we need to look at our children being like innocent and pure. I think we need like really positive interactions happening, and knowing that we want positive masculine energy. I think that for all teachers, for me personally, I think it's great for people to go out and have jobs and work in life and then become teachers later. I have a hard bias on that because that's what I did, right? But I think that it provides a lot of professionalism that we go out and seek in other worlds and then come and bring those professional experiences to schools. So I think that could help in many realms, because I feel like districts kind of prey on the fact that you get someone out of a BA program and they don't really know anything else. And there's a lot of guilt that teachers should take on more and take on more and take on more. So I think that if they were a little bit more educated and had more professionalism training, that would be good. And I think, unfortunately, and it pisses me off, pay. I think that it's really sad, but a lot of men are going to say, I'm not going to go work and do that many hours with 25 other tasks you want me to do and teach football and run this club and do this and that for this amount of pay. And I'm supposed to be the head of my household, right? But I think it is annoying to me that until we look at men coming into the profession, that we don't talk about pay being something that's of need.
Well, see, the pay is an interesting angle because, I was looking at some of the average pay for teachers depending on states. So there are some states where the average pay is very low. In my state, in Maryland, it's actually pretty high. So if you were to compare the salaries of, a teacher with my experience, but let's not even go there. Let's talk basic, 1 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And take that base salary and compare it to other professions where men are mostly in those professions. Why not present it that way? Say, okay, well, yeah, true, you would attract more higher quality people if you had more money, but you would also attract higher quality women as well. But if you were talking about a $50,000 to $55,000 a year job, salary, well, guess what? There's plenty of male-dominated jobs that offer that salary. So why not recruit in that sense? It's like, well, if you're looking for more men, here's a salary. You get your summers off, you get your holidays off. You're only instructing 180 days out of the year. I mean, if you package it in such a way where you can make it attractive to men will be like, hold on a second. You mean to tell me I only have to work 180 days a year and I make the same amount if I work 360 days a year, 300, whatever many days a year? That's, let me think about this a second. And like you said, like there has to be better opportunities. This is a female dominated industry. Let's not kid ourselves here. Like this is a fact. And even like for somebody like me, it doesn't matter how qualified I am, doesn't matter, whatever, it's still a sorority. And so like for somebody like me to move up, if you will, move up the chain it's been extremely difficult for me because I'm going against things that has nothing to do with my qualifications. It has everything to do with my gender, and that's just not fair. But, I think other men might become extremely turned off by something like that.
I want to come back to that part, how you're fighting up the scale. And I want to know like what that is, because I'm a woman. I don't know that part. But I want to come back to the pay part for a second, because if we're looking at like days, it's 180 days. I think that we're trying to package this deal, right? You're getting paid. I would definitely tell any teacher, max out on the pay scale as soon as possible, right? Don't
as soon as possible.
Like, I don't know why so many teachers have not done that. I'm like, that is insane to me. But I think that, and let's talk about this, because it's a gender topic that they say that women are better multitaskers than men, right? I feel like in teaching, you have to be a multitasker. Even though you're working only 180 days, you are grading on the weekends. You're also running a club once a week during your lunch. You are hanging out with kids. You are going to meetings at least once or twice a week and staying until 5 o'clock. Like the amount of work we ask of you is, someone could go clock in, clock out at a finance job and leave and take a breath.
And not have to deal with a lot of this. Then you have to deal with the dynamics. True, the personality dynamics, because some administration, are totally cool and they'll work with you, and some are completely just unreasonable and make a hostile work environment. But that goes anywhere. I've worked in places that I loved my job, but my bosses were just so hostile that it made it unbearable, and so I would leave. I would quit.
But even though it's 180 days, like how do you package that as far as like the amount of multitasking? You're able to handle it. You've been teaching for quite a long time, but there's that old adage, that old joke of like, oh, women can multitask, men can't, or I'm talking to him and he can't hear half the things I'm doing, and I'm just cleaning the house and like, is that
challenge
or is it real?
I challenge any woman to try to multitask as well as I do, because I have a billion things I do at the same time. Yeah. So I don't think I do credit women for like there's that, I guess there's that belief. And that there are, I work with some teachers who can't multitask to save their lives. So I don't know if it's just like there's something that people say. But multitasking is really an art form, and you're either good at it or you're not. Because if you dilute too much of your efforts, you're not going to be good at anything. Yeah. So it really boils down to the individual, I guess.
And I think like what you multitask about, like you and I both have podcasts, and people tell me all the time, how do you have time for that? It's a joy. And so when I do it, it's joyful. And so it doesn't feel like an add-on. It doesn't feel like I have to. Obviously we're doing it on our own fruition, right?
Honestly, I just think we should package this in such a way where men will be challenged by it, because men like challenges. You talk about, it's just bringing that, that motor, that V8 came in yesterday, it blew a gas gasket. I don't know if we can fix it. What do you think, Charlie? Oh, well, I think we can get to it, Bob. Let's give it a shot. So, like, if you create and cultivate a culture in the schoolhouse where men are welcomed, because I understand this is just my personal opinion, Tess, and don't crucify me for it. But I think in some schools where I've worked at, I just didn't feel welcomed. I just didn't, and I know there's a lot of men that feel that way. And it's not because I didn't have good intentions, man. I worked my tail off, right? It's just the sorority. I'm sorry. We come back to that. And like, I was at a meeting recently, and it's like, I brought it up, and it's like, they just don't want to hear it. I'm like, well, I'm going to keep saying it until it changes, because it ain't fair. It's not fair.
Okay, so what is the sorority? I want to hear more about this, because sometimes when some of my best coworkers have been men that I work with, I would also like sometimes mentor them if they were new to coming to our school. They're not new teachers, but they were new to the school. So I'd help them and be the welcome wagon, and still communicate with them, even though I've worked with them like 4 schools ago. But I have had a few men where we're talking in a whole staff meeting, and I bring up a counterpoint only because I'm spinning the ball and looking at different angles. And then sometimes because they're a man in the meeting, there's not many of them. So when they speak, it's kind of this, oh, like everyone's like so excited about it. And sometimes I've just challenged their idea, and then all of a sudden, stone cold, they don't talk to me anymore. And I know we're both alphas, but like, there's some ego that can't handle it. I don't know. So it's very interesting. What has been your experience with other men in teaching and women? What's the sorority?
So like, I definitely work with a lot of alpha women, and I've had no issue in the past. Okay, well, I'm not gonna say I haven't had any issues. I've had some issues, but they've had issues with other people too, not just me, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm an alpha too. So like, you're not going to pull that on me, man. It's like, can we have a real conversation here? Can we talk seriously? And I think it's the tone, and like, they're just not used to somebody, that could challenge them on that level. It's like, think about it. Think about who I am as an individual, as somebody that just from the work that you know of me, and like, you're sitting in a meeting with me, right? And I'm challenging you on a specific, I don't know, let's say a policy or some new thing that they want to roll out. And I'll have questions about it, and I can understand where an alpha would be like a little taken aback by it. It's like, well, I didn't really ask for your opinion. I'm like, well, if it's going to affect my students, if it's going to affect what I do in the classroom, well, I'm sorry that you feel your feathers are ruffled, but we need to discuss this, and I need to have clarity on specifics. And so I think it's just the way that I deliver it. I understand that I'm very firm on certain things, but it's only from the side of the street where, how is this going to help me be a better teacher? And how is this going to help me help my students? I care about nothing else. This is not personal, but it's like people take it personal, Tess.
Yeah, I think they do. Like, I've been a teacher, and now I'm on more the ed services district side. So I really am enjoying like seeing all of it. I wanted to shift to the other side to see it. And so when the first couple of months, I've been to many different school districts. I've jumped in and out of different places. I like to start over and learn and look at that puzzle. And so for the first couple of months, I do a lot of like listening and walking and going into classrooms and listening in the district and analyzing. And a lot of district people were saying to me, like, why are you asking them questions? And some of the teachers' responses to me were, oh, wait, so you're willing to take feedback? And I was like, wow, like that's scary to me.